Lisa Martinez pushed her cleaning cart down the long hallway of Peterson Manufacturing. It was almost midnight, and the big building was quiet. Her shoes made soft sounds on the shiny floor as she walked past the fancy offices. She had been working here as a janitor for 8 months now. Every night was the same. Clean the offices, empty the trash, and try to stay invisible. The other workers never really looked at her. To them, she was just the cleaning lady who came after everyone went home. They did not know that Lisa had 3 degrees in engineering from one of the best schools in the country. They did not know she used to design engines for race cars that went faster than most people could imagine. They did not know that she once worked with the smartest engineers in the world. But that was her old life. Now she was just trying to pay the bills and take care of her sick mother. After her husband died 2 years ago, everything fell apart. The hospital bills were huge. She had to sell their house and move to a small apartment. Her old job had a contract that said she could not work for other engineering companies for 3 years, so she took the only job she could find that paid enough to survive. Lisa stopped her cart outside the main engineering lab. Through the glass windows, she could see a big engine sitting on a metal table. Bright lights shone down on it, and there were tools scattered everywhere. She had walked past this room many times, but tonight something was different. The engine looked broken, and there were papers all over the floor. She knew she should not look too closely. Her job was to clean, not to think about engines. But she could not help herself. Even from outside the room, she could see that the fuel lines were connected wrong. The air intake was too small for the engine size. These were basic mistakes that any good engineer would catch right away. Lisa shook her head and kept walking. It was not her problem. She had learned to keep her mouth shut and do her job. Nobody wanted advice from the cleaning lady. Down the hall, she could hear voices coming from the big corner office. The door was open and yellow light spilled out into the dark hallway. Lisa recognized the voice of Richard Peterson, the company owner. He sounded angry and worried. She tried not to listen, but his voice was loud and carried down the empty hallway. "This is a disaster," Peterson was saying to someone on the phone. "We have been working on this engine for 6 months. My best engineers cannot figure out what is wrong with it. The investors are coming on Friday, and if we cannot show them a working prototype, we will lose everything." Lisa kept cleaning, but she could not block out his words. She knew about the big meeting on Friday. All the workers had been talking about it. If the company got the new investment money, there would be more jobs and better pay for everyone. If not, some people might lose their jobs. "I do not care what it costs," Peterson continued. "Find someone who can fix this thing. Call every expert in the city if you have to. We cannot fail now." Lisa finished cleaning the offices on that floor and moved down to the factory area. The big machines were quiet now, covered with white sheets like sleeping giants. She swept the floors and wiped down the workbenches. As she worked, she thought about the broken engine upstairs. In her mind, she could see exactly what was wrong and how to fix it. Around 2 in the morning, Lisa was cleaning near the engineering lab again. The lights were still on, but now she could see Richard Peterson inside. He was standing in front of the broken engine with his hands on his hips. His expensive suit was wrinkled and his hair was messy. He looked like he had not slept in days. Peterson kicked a toolbox on the floor. Some wrenches scattered across the room with loud metal sounds. "Stupid piece of junk," he said to the empty room. "How hard can it be to make an engine work?" Lisa knocked softly on the glass door. Peterson looked up, surprised to see anyone there so late. He walked over and opened the door. Up close, Lisa could see how tired and frustrated he looked. His eyes were red, and there were coffee stains on his white shirt. "What do you want?" Peterson asked. His voice was not mean, just tired. "I am sorry to bother you, sir," Lisa said quietly. "I was just cleaning and I heard you talking. Is everything okay?" Peterson laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Okay? Nothing is okay. I have got the most expensive engineers in the state and they cannot fix one simple engine. My whole company depends on this thing working, and it is just sitting there, like a big paperweight." Lisa looked past him at the engine. From where she stood, she could see at least 5 things that were wrong with it. Her fingers wanted to pick up the tools and start fixing it right away, but she stayed quiet and kept her hands on her cleaning cart. "Maybe you should try getting some sleep," Lisa suggested. "Things always look better in the morning." Peterson shook his head. "I cannot sleep. Not with this hanging over my head. You know what the funny thing is? I bet even you could do better than my engineers. Maybe I should just let the cleaning lady have a try at it." He was joking, but Lisa saw her chance. "What if I could fix it?" she asked. Peterson stared at her for a moment, then started laughing. "You? Fix an advanced hybrid engine? That is the funniest thing I've heard all week." "I am serious," Lisa said. "What if I could make it work?" Peterson stopped laughing. He looked at her more carefully, like he was seeing her for the first time. "You are serious, are not you? Okay, I will play along. If you can somehow fix this engine that has stumped my entire engineering team, I will give you $10,000. Cash." Lisa felt her heart beating faster. $10,000 would pay off most of her mother's medical bills. It would give them breathing room for the first time in 2 years. "And if I cannot fix it," she asked. "Then you go back to cleaning toilets and we never talk about this again," Peterson said. "But I want to be clear about something. This is not a toy. This engine represents millions of dollars of research and development. If you break something, you will be fired immediately." Lisa nodded. "I understand. I just need access to the workshop after my regular cleaning hours, and I will need 3 nights. Peterson was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled and stuck out his hand. "You have got a deal, Lisa. But when you fail, I do not want to hear any excuses." Lisa shook his hand. "You will not need to worry about excuses, Mr. Peterson." The next night, Lisa arrived at work with a small toolbox hidden in her cleaning supplies. She had spent the whole day thinking about the engine and what she had seen. In her mind, she had already figured out 3 major problems that needed fixing, but she had to be careful. If anyone found out what she was really doing, she could lose her job. Lisa finished her regular cleaning work as fast as she could. She emptied all the trash cans, wiped down the desks, and vacuumed the carpets in the main offices. By midnight, the building was empty except for the security guard who stayed in the front lobby. He was used to seeing Lisa work late, so he would not think anything was strange. She pushed her cart to the engineering lab and used the key card that Peterson had given her. The room smelled like oil and metal. The broken engine sat under the bright lights, looking exactly the same as the night before. Lisa walked around it slowly, looking at every part and every connection. The first thing she noticed was that the fuel injection system was completely wrong. Someone had connected the high-pressure line to the low-pressure port. That would make the engine run too rich and eventually flood itself. It was a mistake that a first-year engineering student would catch, but somehow the expensive experts had missed it. The second problem was with the air intake manifold. It was too small for an engine this size. The designers had probably copied it from a smaller engine without doing the math. Lisa pulled out a calculator and did some quick calculations. The engine needed at least 30% more airflow to work properly. The third problem was the timing system. The computer that controlled when the spark plugs fired was programmed with the wrong values. Lisa could see the code on the computer screen, and it was obvious that someone had entered the numbers incorrectly. Lisa smiled to herself. These were not impossible problems. They were just basic mistakes that nobody had bothered to check carefully. She could fix all of them in one night if she worked fast. She started with the fuel lines. Using her own tools, she carefully disconnected the wrong connections and put them in the right places. The fuel system was more complicated than most people realized, but Lisa had worked on hundreds of similar engines. Her hands moved quickly and confidently as she rerouted the lines and adjusted the pressure settings. Next, she worked on the air intake. She could not make a completely new manifold in one night, but she could modify the existing one. Using a small drill and some metal files, she carefully opened up the air passages to let more air flow through. It was not a perfect solution, but it would be enough to make the engine run properly. The timing system took the longest to fix. Lisa had to reprogram the computer with the correct values. She connected her laptop to the engine's computer and started changing the code. Each number had to be exactly right, or the engine would not work at all. Lisa had memorized these types of calculations years ago when she was designing race car engines. While she worked, Lisa thought about her old life. She remembered the excitement of creating something new, the satisfaction of solving difficult problems, and the respect she had earned from other engineers. Working as a janitor paid the bills, but it did not feed her mind the way engineering did. By 4 in the morning, Lisa had finished the basic repairs. She stood back and looked at the engine. From the outside, it looked almost the same as before. But she knew that everything important had been fixed. She cleaned up her tools and put everything back where it belonged. Before she left, Lisa wrote a detailed report explaining what she had done and why. She used proper engineering language and included all the technical details that other engineers would need to understand her work. She left the report on the workbench next to the engine. The next morning, Steve Johnson arrived at the lab early. As usual, he was the head engineer and had been working on the broken engine for weeks. When he walked into the lab, he immediately noticed that something was different. The tools were arranged differently, and there was a neat stack of papers on the workbench. Steve picked up the papers and started reading. His eyes got wider with each page. The report was written by someone who clearly understood advanced engine design. The explanations were clear and detailed, and the solutions made perfect sense. Whoever had written this report knew more about hybrid engines than most of the engineers at Peterson Manufacturing. Steve tried to start the engine, expecting it to make the same horrible noises as before. Instead, it started smoothly and ran perfectly. The sound was quiet and steady, exactly the way it was supposed to be. He checked all the gauges and computer readings. Everything was working better than they had ever hoped. Other engineers started, arriving for work, and gathered around the running engine. They could not believe what they were seeing. Tom Wilson, one of the senior engineers, shook his head in amazement. "Who did this?" he asked. "This is incredible work." Steve showed them the technical report. "Whoever wrote this knows what they are doing," he said. "Look at these calculations. Look at these modifications. This is professional level work." Meanwhile, Richard Peterson was in his office having breakfast and reading the morning reports. His assistant knocked on the door and told him that the engineers wanted to see him right away. Peterson walked down to the lab, expecting more bad news about the broken engine. Instead, he found his engineering team standing around the perfectly running engine with huge smiles on their faces. The sound of the smooth engine filled the room. Peterson could not believe his ears. "How is this possible?" Peterson asked. "Yesterday, this thing was completely dead." Steve handed him the technical report. "Someone fixed it overnight," he said. "And not just fixed it, they improved it. This engine is running 30% more efficiently than our original design." Peterson read through the report quickly. The technical language was too complicated for him to understand completely, but he could see that whoever had written it was extremely skilled. "Do we know who did this?" he asked. "That is what we are trying to figure out," Steve said. "The security guard said he did not see anyone unusual last night, just the regular cleaning crew." Peterson felt a strange feeling in his stomach. He remembered his conversation with Lisa the night before. She had asked for 3 nights to fix the engine, but that was impossible. She was just a cleaning lady. There was no way she could have done this kind of advanced engineering work. But as Peterson looked at the running engine and read the professional report, he started to wonder. Maybe there was more to Lisa Martinez than anyone realized. Richard Peterson could not stop thinking about the fixed engine. All day long he walked back and forth in his office, trying to make sense of what had happened. His engineers were celebrating like they had won the lottery, but Peterson felt confused and suspicious. Someone had done the impossible and he needed to know who. He called Steve Johnson into his office that afternoon. Steve was still smiling and holding a cup of coffee that said "World's Greatest Engineer" on the side. Peterson had never seen his head engineer look so happy and relaxed. "Steve, I need you to be completely honest with me," Peterson said. "Who really fixed that engine? Did you bring in someone from outside? Did you hire a consultant without telling me?" Steve shook his head. "I promise you, Richard, we have no idea who did this. I have been thinking about it all day. The security cameras do not show anyone entering the building except the regular cleaning crew. The security guard says everything was normal. It is like a ghost fixed our engine. Peterson sat down at his desk and rubbed his temples. He was getting a headache from thinking so hard. What about the technical report? Can you tell me anything about who wrote it? That is the strangest part, Steve said. Whoever wrote this report knows more about hybrid engine design than anyone on our team, maybe more than anyone in the city. The modifications they made are so smart that I wish I had thought of them myself. Look at this. Steve spread out the technical papers on Peterson's desk. Even though Peterson did not understand all the engineering details, he could see that the work was very professional. The handwriting was neat and careful. The calculations were perfect. The diagrams looked like they came from a textbook. This person has serious training, Steve continued. They understand advanced thermodynamics, fuel system design, and computer programming. This is not something you learn from watching YouTube videos. This is years of education and experience. Peterson stared at the papers. In the back of his mind, he kept thinking about Lisa Martinez and their conversation 2 nights ago. But every time the thought came up, he pushed it away. It was impossible. She was just a cleaning lady. She could not have done this kind of work. That evening, Peterson decided to stay late at the office. He told his secretary he had paperwork to catch up on, but really he wanted to see what happened during the night shift. He sat in his office with the lights turned low, watching through his window as the cleaning crew arrived. At 10 o'clock, he saw Lisa push her cart through the main hallway. She looked the same as always, quiet, invisible, focused on her work. She cleaned the offices on the executive floor, emptying trash cans and wiping down desks. Nothing seemed unusual or suspicious. But around midnight, Peterson noticed that Lisa spent longer than usual near the engineering lab. He could see her through the glass walls, moving around inside the room with her cleaning supplies. She was probably just doing her normal cleaning work, but something about the way she moved caught his attention. Peterson decided to take a closer look. He walked quietly down the hallway and stood outside the lab. Through the glass, he could see Lisa cleaning the workbenches and organizing the tools. But as he watched more carefully, he noticed something strange. She was not just cleaning randomly. She was looking at everything very carefully, like she understood what all the tools and equipment were for. Lisa picked up a wrench and examined it closely before putting it back in exactly the right place. She looked at the computer screens that showed engine data and seemed to be reading the information. When she cleaned around the fixed engine, she moved very carefully, like she knew how important and delicate it was. Peterson felt his heart beating faster. He remembered Steve telling him that whoever fixed the engine had also improved it. The modifications were so good that they made the engine work better than the original design. What if Lisa had not just fixed the obvious problems? What if she had made it even better? The next morning, Peterson called Steve into his office again. "I want you to test that engine completely," he said. "Not just to see if it runs, but to see how well it performs. I want to know everything about what was changed and improved." Steve looked confused. "We already tested it yesterday. It is working perfectly." "Test it again," Peterson said. "And this time, I want detailed measurements of everything. Power output, fuel efficiency, emissions, everything." 3 hours later, Steve came back with a folder full of test results. His face looked shocked and amazed. "Richard, you are not going to believe this," he said. "This engine is not just fixed. It is better than anything we have ever built." Peterson opened the folder and looked at the numbers. Even though he was not an engineer, he could see that all the results were much better than their original goals. The fuel efficiency is 35% better than we planned, Steve explained. The power output is 20% higher. The emissions are so low that they meet environmental standards that do not even exist yet. Whoever did this did not just fix our mistakes. They redesigned the whole system to be better. Peterson felt dizzy. This was not just about fixing a broken engine anymore. Someone had taken their design and made it into something amazing. If they could build engines like this, Peterson Manufacturing would become the biggest automotive company in the world. "Steve, I need you to keep this information secret for now," Peterson said. Do not tell anyone else about these test results. And I want you to watch the engineering lab tonight. I want to know exactly who goes in and out of that room. That night, Steve hid in an empty office across from the engineering lab. He had a clear view of the door and windows. At 11:30, he saw Lisa arrive with her cleaning cart. She used a key card to enter the lab and started her normal cleaning routine. But after a few minutes, Steve saw something that made his jaw drop. Lisa put down her cleaning supplies and walked over to a different engine that the team had been struggling with for weeks. She looked at it for a moment, then started making small adjustments to the fuel lines and electrical connections. Steve watched in amazement as Lisa worked on the engine with confident professional movements. She used tools like someone who had been working with engines for years. She seemed to know exactly what she was doing without even thinking about it. After an hour, Lisa finished working on the second engine. She cleaned up her tools, wrote another technical report, and left it on the workbench. Then she went back to her regular cleaning work like nothing had happened. The next morning, Steve tried to start the second engine. Just like the first one, it ran perfectly. The technical report explained exactly what Lisa had done and why. Steve read it 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. Lisa Martinez, the quiet cleaning lady that everyone ignored, was not just good at fixing engines. She was a genius. The next morning, Richard Peterson sat in his office staring at Steve's report about the second engine. His hands were shaking slightly as he read the technical details. 2 engines fixed in 3 nights, both running better than anything his team had ever built. And Lisa Martinez was the only person who had access to both engines during the night shift. Peterson felt a mix of emotions he could not quite understand. He was amazed, confused, angry, and embarrassed all at the same time. How could he have been so blind? How could a woman with such incredible skills be working as a janitor in his building for 8 months without anyone noticing? He picked up his phone and called the Human Resources Department. "I need everything you have on Lisa Martinez," he said. "Employment records, background check, references, everything." 20 minutes later, his assistant brought him a thin folder. Peterson opened it and found only basic information. Lisa had applied for the janitorial position 8 months ago. Her previous job was listed as homemaker. She had excellent references from 2 previous cleaning jobs. There was no mention of any engineering background or technical education. Peterson frowned and picked up his phone again. This time he called a private investigator that the company sometimes used for background checks. "I need you to dig deeper into someone's history," he said. "Lisa Martinez. I want to know everything about her education, work experience, and why she ended up working as a janitor." That afternoon, Peterson could not concentrate on anything else. He kept walking past the engineering lab, watching his team work on other projects. Steve was running more tests on the 2 fixed engines, and every test showed results that were better than anyone had hoped for. Around 5 o'clock, Peterson's phone rang. It was the private investigator. "Mr. Peterson, I have some very interesting information about Lisa Martinez," the man said. "You might want to sit down for this." Peterson sat down and grabbed a pen to take notes. "Tell me what you found." "Lisa Martinez graduated from MIT with 3 engineering degrees," the investigator began. "Mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, and computer science. She graduated at the top of her class and was offered jobs at NASA and several major automotive companies." Peterson's pen stopped moving, his mouth fell open. "Are you sure about this?" "Completely sure. After college, she worked for Advanced Racing Systems, where she designed engines for Formula One race cars. Then she moved to Precision Automotive, where she led a team that created some of the most efficient hybrid engines ever built. She has patents on 17 different engine technologies." Peterson felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "Then why is she working as a janitor?" "That is where the story gets sad," the investigator continued. 2 years ago, her husband got very sick with cancer. The medical bills were enormous, even with insurance. Lisa had to take care of him full-time, so she quit her engineering job. When he died, she was left with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Peterson closed his eyes and rubbed his forehead. "What about getting another engineering job?" "She tried, but there is a problem. Her last employer made her sign a non-compete agreement. She cannot work for any other automotive or aerospace company for 3 years. The agreement is very strict and covers almost every type of engineering work she is qualified to do. So she took a janitorial job to survive, Peterson said quietly. Exactly. She needed work immediately to pay for her mother's medical care and her own living expenses. Cleaning jobs do not require the same background checks as engineering positions, and they pay enough to cover basic needs. Peterson hung up the phone and sat in silence for a long time. He thought about all the times he had walked past Lisa in the hallway without really seeing her. He thought about how he had joked with his executives about letting the cleaning lady try to fix the engine. He felt ashamed of himself. That evening, Peterson waited in his office until he saw Lisa arrive for her night shift. He walked down to the engineering lab and found her cleaning the workbenches. She looked up when he entered the room, and for the first time he really looked at her face. He could see intelligence in her eyes that he had never noticed before. "Lisa, we need to talk," Peterson said. His voice was serious but not angry. Lisa stopped cleaning and straightened up. She could tell from his expression that something had changed. "Is there a problem with my work, Mr. Peterson?" "You could say that," Peterson replied. He walked over to the 2 engines that were now running perfectly. "These engines that were magically fixed. You did this, did not you?" Lisa was quiet for a moment. She had known this moment would come eventually. She could lie and try to keep her secret, but she was tired of pretending to be someone she was not. "Yes," she said simply. "I fixed them." Peterson nodded. "I know about MIT. I know about your engineering degrees and your work experience. I know about advanced racing systems and precision automotive. The question is, why did not you tell me who you really are?" Lisa set down her cleaning supplies and looked directly at Peterson. "Would you have believed me? If a janitor told you she had engineering degrees from MIT, what would you have thought?" Peterson had to admit she was right. He would have thought she was lying or crazy. "But 8 months, Lisa. You have been working here for 8 months. You could have applied for an engineering position." "I could not," Lisa said. "I have a non-compete agreement that prevents me from working as an engineer for another 1.5 years. And honestly, I needed this job. My mother needs expensive medical care, and I have debt from my husband's illness. I could not risk losing steady income by telling people about my background." Peterson sat down on a stool next to the workbench. "Show me what else you have been thinking about," he said. "Steve told me you have been looking at our other projects. What do you see that we are missing?" Lisa hesitated for a moment, then walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a folder she had been keeping hidden. Inside were detailed drawings and calculations for improvements to 5 different engine designs that Peterson Manufacturing was working on. "Your 3rd-generation hybrid system has a cooling problem that will cause failures after about 50,000 miles, Lisa said, pointing to one of the drawings. "The solution is simple, but it requires changing the radiator design." She flipped to another page. "Your electric motor controller is using outdated software that wastes about 15% of the battery power. I rewrote the code to make it more efficient." Peterson looked through page after page of detailed engineering work. Each page showed problems that his team had not even discovered yet, along with clear solutions. The quality of the work was better than anything his paid engineers had produced. "This is incredible," Peterson said. "How long have you been working on these improvements?" "Every night for the past 3 months, Lisa admitted. "I know I should not have been looking at confidential company information, but I could not help myself. When you see problems that you know how to fix, it is hard to just ignore them." Peterson stood up and extended his hand to Lisa. "I owe you an apology," he said, "and I owe you a lot more than $10,000. Lisa shook his hand, surprised by the gesture. "What do you mean?" "I mean it is time for you to stop cleaning floors and start doing what you were born to do," Peterson said. "How would you feel about becoming our new head of advanced engine development?" Lisa stared at Richard Peterson for a long moment, not sure if she had heard him correctly. "Head of advanced engine development," she repeated slowly. "Are you serious?" Peterson nodded. I have never been more serious about anything in my life. Lisa, what you have done in 3 nights is better than what my entire engineering team has accomplished in 6 months. I would be crazy not to offer you the position you deserve. Lisa felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she tried to stay calm. Mr. Peterson, I appreciate the offer, but there are some things you need to understand. I still have that non-compete agreement for another 1.5 years. If my old company finds out I am doing engineering work, they could sue both of us. Peterson smiled. Let me worry about the legal problems. I have lawyers who specialize in breaking unfair contracts. Your old company cannot keep you from using your skills forever, especially when you are in financial trouble because of medical bills. We will fight it if we have to. And there is something else, Lisa continued. I cannot just abandon the other people who work night shifts here. Many of them are like me. They have education and skills, but they took these jobs because they needed work right away. If I get promoted, I want to make sure we create opportunities for them too. Peterson was impressed by Lisa's concern for her co-workers. Most people in her situation would only think about themselves. What do you have in mind? He asked. Lisa pulled out another folder from her cleaning cart. I have been thinking about this for months, she said. We could create a program to identify employees who have skills they are not using in their current jobs, give them training, help them move into better positions, and create a pathway for advancement. She opened the folder and showed Peterson her notes. Maria Rodriguez in the cafeteria has an accounting degree but could not find work after her company closed. Tony Williams in maintenance is actually a licensed electrician who lost his job during the recession. Janet Cooper in the mailroom has a nursing degree but stopped working when her children were born. Peterson looked through Lisa's detailed notes about dozens of employees. She had talked to people, learned about their backgrounds, and identified ways they could contribute more to the company. You did all this research while working as a janitor? He asked. People talk to janitors, Lisa said with a small smile. We are invisible, so they feel comfortable sharing things with us. I learned more about this company's real problems and opportunities by cleaning offices than most managers learn in years. Peterson felt another wave of embarrassment about how he had treated Lisa and probably many other employees. What would this program cost, he asked. Much less than hiring new people from outside, Lisa explained. We already know these employees are reliable and honest. We just need to give them a chance to use their real skills. The return on investment would be huge. Peterson made his decision. Okay, here is what we are going to do. First, I am making you head of advanced engine development immediately, with a salary that reflects your real qualifications. Second, you are going to create and run this employee development program. Third, we are going to set up a scholarship fund to help employees go back to school or get additional training. Lisa felt overwhelmed by the offer. After 2 years of struggling just to survive, the idea of having a good job and being able to help other people seemed too good to be true. What about the $10,000 you promised me for fixing the engine? She asked. Peterson laughed. That was just the beginning. You fixed 2 engines and improved 5 other designs. You probably saved the company millions of dollars and helped us create products that will make us the industry leader. $10,000 is nothing compared to what you deserve. Over the next few weeks, Peterson kept his promises. His lawyers successfully challenged Lisa's non-compete agreement, arguing that it was unreasonably restrictive and caused undue hardship. Lisa's old company decided not to fight the case because they did not want bad publicity about their treatment of a widow with medical debt. Lisa moved into a real office on the engineering floor. She hired 3 of her former night shift co-workers who had technical backgrounds. Maria Rodriguez became the team's financial analyst. Tony Williams joined the electrical systems group. Janet Cooper started working in the company's new workplace safety program. The employee development program that Lisa created became a model for other companies. Within 6 months, Peterson Manufacturing had promoted 47 people from entry-level positions to jobs that matched their education and skills. The company's productivity increased dramatically, and employee satisfaction reached the highest levels in company history. But the biggest success was Lisa's engine improvements. The hybrid engine that she had fixed and enhanced became Peterson, manufacturing's most successful product ever. Major car companies lined up to buy the technology. The advanced features that Lisa had added made their engines more efficient and environmentally friendly than anything else on the market. 6 months after their midnight meeting in the engineering lab, Peterson Manufacturing held its annual awards ceremony. Lisa stood at the front of the room wearing a professional dress instead of a janitor's uniform. She was receiving the company's highest honor for innovation and leadership. Peterson introduced her to the crowd of employees, investors, and industry representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about the most important lesson I have learned this year. Talent and intelligence can be found anywhere, in any job, at any level of a company. Our job as leaders is not to make assumptions about people based on their current position, but to recognize their potential and give them opportunities to succeed. He looked directly at Lisa as he continued. Lisa Martinez taught me that the person emptying your trash can might be smarter than the person sitting in the corner office. She taught me that real leadership means seeing the value in every employee and creating systems that allow everyone to contribute their best work. Lisa stepped up to the microphone to accept the award. Thank you, Mr. Peterson, but I want to be clear about something. I did not succeed alone. This company is full of talented people who are just waiting for someone to notice them and give them a chance. The real innovation here is not any single engine design. It is the idea that every person deserves to be valued for their full potential. The audience gave Lisa a standing ovation that lasted for several minutes. In the crowd, she could see Maria, Tony, Janet, and dozens of other employees who had been promoted through the development program. She could see Steve Johnson and the other engineers who had welcomed her as an equal colleague. She could see her mother, who was healthy again thanks to the excellent medical insurance that came with Lisa's new position. As Lisa looked out at all the faces, she thought about the night when Peterson had jokingly challenged her to fix the impossible engine. Neither of them could have imagined that the challenge would change not just their lives, but the entire culture of the company. Peterson Manufacturing became known throughout the industry as a place where talent was recognized and developed regardless of where it was found. Other companies started copying their employee development programs. Business schools wrote case studies about their success. And Lisa Martinez, who had once been invisible as she pushed her cleaning cart through empty hallways, became one of the most respected engineers in the automotive industry. But she never forgot the lesson she had learned during those long nights of hiding her true abilities. Real success comes not from individual achievement, but from creating opportunities for everyone to shine.